Have you ever wondered what the difference is between self-publishing and traditional publishing is? And are there any other options? So, writing a book is already a lot of work without the confusion over which publishing avenue is the best to choose. So, whether you've written your book already or you haven't written it, but you want to know what some of your options might be in the future, or you've already written it, you're done, you're ready to go, you've got this manuscript, and you're wondering, what is the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing? And what are the pros and cons? What are the greatness about each of those options? And also, what are some of the downfalls? And then, what are other options? And so I am here to help you. My name is Andrea Seidel, and they call me the book doula because I help people painlessly give birth to books that change lives. And I would love to help you along this process of just investigating what your options are to bring your book to life, to give birth to your book. So let's jump in. So let's first talk about traditional publishing. Traditional publishing basically means that you submit your work and you have it selected for publication. So there's no fees associated with this form of publishing. And publishers rarely take unsolicited manuscripts from authors, but often find books through literary agents. So that means authors need to get literary agents often to even get their book considered by publishing companies. Now, publishing houses pay for editing and production of the books, and they look after a lot of the expenses, but they also might pay their authors an advance, which is fantastic. And publishing houses also, they have this signing fee. So if you are lucky enough to get in with a traditional publishing, you will likely get an advance payment for writing the book. And then that will come off as your royalties and as your income comes in from your books. So authors receive a royalty at a variable rate of about 7 to 12% of the cover price. So that's based on your book sales. So the more you sell, the better, obviously, and you get about 7 to 12% of the cover price. And so that is marginally low, but the publishers are traditional publishing are really banking on the fact that you're going to sell a lot of your books. And they actually really do require that you are going to do that because let's face it, they're in the business of publishing. So traditional publishing has so much clout and so much reputation and credibility and professionalism associated with them. So publishing with traditional publishing is amazing if you can get in. The problem is it's really challenging to get in with a traditional publisher, and not to mention literary agents are likely to take a percentage as well as a finding fee for the publisher. So because publishers take a financial risk before your book has earned sales, they only take on selected books that they feel are going to succeed and that are going to do really well in the marketplace. So most publishing houses will have unsolicited manuscripts, and they won't allow that. So most publishing houses, they regularly have unsolicited manuscripts sent to them, which they don't want or need. So becoming a successfully published writer through a traditional publisher takes a lot of determination, a lot of shopping around, and a lot of research and a lot of luck as well. So traditional publishing, it's wonderful for the professionalism, fantastic for the credibility that comes with it. And also that advance is quite nice. However, your royalties are generally lower and your chances of getting in with a traditional publisher is very slim. It's very challenging. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's challenging. So now let's look at self-publishing. Self-publishing means that you're basically paying to have your work published or you're managing some or all of the parts of producing your book. So such as you're basically the whole publishing process, you're taking care of it. You're self-publishing. So you're looking after editing, cover design, marketing, production of your book, creation of your interior files, creation of your cover files, creation of everything, not to mention the figuring out of uploading this to all the places that require your manuscript with the rules based from Amazon and Ingram and all these distribution channels. You're also getting your own ISBN number. You're also figuring out the whole process. And oftentimes you are paying services to help you with that process. So anyone can self-publish. So paying a fee to publish your work is sometimes called vanity publishing or glamorized printing. It's basically anyone can bring their book to market and publish their book. And so what that does is it waters down, or it makes it a little bit less of professional. And it also, a lot of books get through the cracks or get published that aren't necessarily professionally edited. They're not professionally designed. So there's a bit of a stigma around self-publishing. And the benefits, though, is that the authors receive 100% royalties from their published work. But they do have to figure out, and they have the burden of figuring out all the steps along the way as an author. And a lot of mistakes can be made along the way. So although the popularity of self-publishing has definitely increased, is sometimes frowned upon within the publishing industry because standards seem to be getting lower and decreasing as more and more novice people are and publishing books that are done in an unprofessional and amateur way. So let's get into discovering all the pros and cons of each of those options. So traditional publishing and self-publishing. So the most significant difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing are basically the time it takes to publish, also the creative control that the author has, the royalty rates that you're paid per book. Your distribution is different. The cost to publish is different as well. And the credibility and professionalism is different. Let's look at each and every single one of these and really investigate the most significant difference, the pros and cons of each. The time it takes to publish. Let's look at it from the self-publishing perspective. Say that fast 5 times. As fast as you can get through the process of learning, lining up, and outsourcing all of the book production, such as editing, cover design, file formatting, and all those things, authors can expect to publish their book very fast in as little as 60 days. So the benefits and the pros of self-publishing is that it's fast to market and it doesn't take as much time. It's basically as fast as you can figure out all the steps to publishing your book. And so it's fast to market. It's a significant benefit of self-publishing. Plus, there's numerous steps to publish, and there's a lot of hours of learning and working. So really, it's up to the individual of how seasoned they are with interior formatting, working with InDesign, working with cover creation and reformatting interior files and things like that. Is really up to the individual author. So as fast as you can get through the process of learning and lining up and outsourcing all the book production is as fast as you can get that book to market. So book requirements and approvals can be really tedious and take a lot of time, especially on the Amazon platform. So the advantage of self-publishing is that it's a guarantee that your book is going to get to the world. That's what we love about self-publishing, is that we don't have to rely on someone else's yes in order to get the book to the world. And so this is a wonderful benefit of self-publishing. So it's fast to market. Let's look at traditional publishing. So if you don't land an agent, the time frame can take years and even a lifetime if you don't land an agent and don't get accepted by a traditional publishing. So the time it takes to publish really is a lot longer because you're going to be shopping your manuscript around, maybe sending out queries. You might be hiring an agent to help you bring your manuscript and your book proposal to a lot of these publishing houses, the traditional publishing route. And so there's no guarantee in time. So the time it takes to publish is very different when it comes to traditional publishing. So shopping and sending manuscript can even take years without a guarantee that your book will be published. And so if you do get an agent to represent you and you do get your book accepted by a traditional publishing house, and what happens is that you can still spend a lot of times going back and forth, even 1 to 3 years before your book can be published. So the main difference here is the time it takes to publish. Self-publishing is fast to market, traditional publishing a little bit slower or a lot slower. Another major difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing is creative control. So when you self-publish, you basically are in charge. You're creating, you're designing, you are in charge of everything when it comes to the creation of your book, from cover design to back cover design to the spine design, that's the end of your book, to file formatting, to margin setting, all the interior file formatting, book descriptions. You are doing this on your own. You have complete creative control. You also look after the look inside feature. You also look and create your own ISBN assignment. You also register your own copyright. So you're looking after all the steps of your book, which gives you creative control. So the drawback of self-publishing is, though, although you have all this creative control every step along the way, it's left up to you as the author. And many authors, they find themselves needing more clarity, more guidance, maybe more support on selling or book descriptions or creating the files. And so the downfall is that process can feel, that creative process can feel quite overwhelming, and that it's very technical and there's a lot of steps involved. But the great thing is with self-publishing is that the author technically owns the creative rights and royalties when the book is actually published, when it's self-published. With traditional publishing, the author is less in control and has less input and opportunities to influence the book's creation. Another comparison is the royalty rate that you're paid per book. So if you look at self-publishing versus traditional publishing, self-publishing, Amazon paperback books royalty rate is about 60% of your book's retail price. Now, it's minus the cost of the book's production. So it's minus the cost that it takes to print and produce your book. So you get 60% usually through Amazon for the paperback rate. The self-published author keeps the entire royalty after the cost of on-demand production and the cost of the distribution percentage. So it's amazing. So for example, if we were to talk about a 300-page book that retails at $17.99, for example, a self-published author would take home about $7.54 per paperback book sold. So it's really, that's the benefit of self-publishing. Is one of the pros is that the authors are paid more royalties for their work. Now, when it comes to traditional publishing, traditional published authors usually make about 8 to 10 to 12% of their books per book sold. That's after their advance has been paid off. So authors usually get, with the traditional publishing, they get an advance to write their book, but they do have to pay that advance back in book sales. So traditional published authors usually make about 8 to 10 to 12%, depending on per book sold, after that advance is paid off. So once the advance is paid off for a book that retails at $17.99, a traditional published author would bring about $1.79 per book. So just so you have the comparison there. However, there is a lot more opportunities for growth. Traditional publishers, they usually end up selling more quantity than self-published books. And that's because of the professionalism and the credibility that does come with traditional publishing. Another major difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing is distribution. So with self-publishing, all online or digital book distribution options are available to you that traditional publishing authors have. It's also available. So it's available. So all distribution is available to self-published authors. However, you must know where to apply your book to distribution online sites. So you, for example, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and bookstores, you need to know all the distribution channels and where to upload all your files. And so it helps if you're associated with a publisher to be listed. So for example, a bookstore will have access to buying power of what books they're going to order into their store. If you're not associated with a traditional publishing house, you're more frowned upon and less likely to be brought into stores. And so, so self-publishing, you do have the opportunity to have your books available everywhere. However, with traditional publishing, authors have the opportunity to get their books nationwide into all distribution channels as physical copies, including airports and online bookstores and all these distribution channels. So the credibility that comes with traditional published authors offers expanded distribution and more opportunities. And that's a huge perk. So more exposure. So due to the high standards in publishing that traditional publishing has, bookstores can remain really confident in the professionalism of books that are traditionally published. And that's why they're more likely to allow them into their stores and into a more accessible or more distribution into bookstores and airports and things like that as well. Another major difference is the cost to publish. So when you self-publish, there are actually many costs involved with the production of your book. So authors can spend anywhere from $3,000 to $30,000 on book production costs. So things such as editing, formatting, cover design, and all the extras, even a publishing coach, they can all cost money. So there are many steps for the self-published author to navigate. And there's many things that might need to be outsourced because let's face it, we're not a jack of all trades. We can't figure everything out. So, and the details on your book formatting, such as interior file formatting, are so specific. And Amazon has so many requirements for the formatting of your book, such as gutters, spine width, and all these things that are needed to be taken into consideration. Outsourcing becomes very common when you self-publish. So it can add up really quickly. So the cost to publish can be very high, not to mention the required time it will take to figure out all the steps with self-publishing is a definite con, because figuring out the steps, it's a steep learning curve, and it does often lead to a lot of publishing blunders. And so one of the most significant drawbacks is the cost to self-publish and navigating the process and the time it takes to create your book. So when it comes to traditional publishing, though, it costs $0, or at least it should be if it's an authentic traditional publishing house. So the book's production is covered, and it's not, and that means that it's not vanity publishing. So vanity publishing is where you pay a lump sum for a company to produce your whole entire book, and they also retain rights to your book, and they also take a royalty. That is what you want to avoid. A true traditional publisher will not charge you a cent, and traditional publishing has little or no upfront costs because you're basically paying that upfront cost over time in a lower royalty. So that is, it kind of ends up balancing out. If you think about it, with traditional publishing, you pay nothing up front. And what happens is that over time, you're paying off, even if you did get an advance, you're paying off the advance and you're getting a lower royalty rate. So over time, you're not that you're losing the money, but you're paying for it later instead of upfront. So that's the major difference in the cost to publish. So an important note is that the advantage of traditional publishing or publishing, when you self-publish, you own your rights and you own your royalties. And so with traditional publishing, you don't own your rights and royalties. You have a lower royalty and you don't own the rights to your book. Another major difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing is credibility. So, self-publishing, unfortunately, self-publishing is frowned upon within the publishing industry because there are so many self-published books that are just not done well, and clearly someone who has just figured out all the steps is creating it. So I've seen blunders like paragraphs on Amazon, the look inside feature not properly, spines that wrap around, back covers that hide behind the UPC not in the right place. Right away, when you self-publish, you have sometimes an assigned ISBN number to make your life easier, but then the whole publishing world knows that you've self-published. And so it's sort of frowned upon within the industry. A lot of things have been published that are not even professionally edited, things like that. And so, since anyone and everyone can publish for themselves, the reliability and the standards of self publishing often need to be more professional. And so, although the popularity has increased, the credibility has lessened and the standards seem to be decreasing as more and more amateur books keep getting created. So, when it comes to traditional publishing, there is an enormous amount of credibility because just the fact that you've been chosen and accepted as an author speaks volumes. Traditional publishing houses have such high standards. They've been doing this for a long time. They know what they're doing. They're basically, if you can get an offer to publish through a traditional publisher, it takes a lot of work. However, the credibility and the professionalism that comes with a traditional publishing house is huge. So the traditional publishing process runs usually through literary agents, which is another standard to weed out, anything that shouldn't be published, and just like really upping the standards and the professionalism. So these professionals are the gatekeepers to the publishing world. And so this high standard speaks volumes. So as an author, you're associated with prestige if you're published through a publishing house. So the question becomes, can you have the best of both worlds? Is there a third option? And is there a third option that can really allow you to painlessly give birth to your book, allow you to take your knowledge, your experience, and your expertise and bring it to the world? And the answer is absolutely yes. And so what happened is I created a company actually, and there are some other companies around. It's called hybrid publishing. So it's just as it sounds. It's a blend of the best of both worlds. So it's traditional publishing and self-publishing is where those both options of publishing have merged together. And this merging is basically the birthplace of my company called Live Life Happy Publishing. And I birthed this out of necessity because we wanted the best of the self-publishing world, but also have the best of the traditional publishing world. And that's where it was born out of. So let's jump into the hybrid approach to publishing. So let's talk about the hybrid approach to publishing. What if you could take all the positive aspects of self-publishing and traditional publishing and converge the two into a hybrid publishing model? So a hybrid approach to publishing is the best of both worlds and so great for the author. And so I am going to introduce you to this amazing new system, this hybrid model that can benefit you as the author. Because let's face it, books change lives, but only if you can write them and publish them and bring them to the world in a way that's really professional and wonderful. So let's talk about the Live Life Happy Publishing hybrid approach, all the benefits. So the first benefit is, let's talk about the time it takes to publish. It's fast. So Live Life Happy hybrid published books are basically rapidly brought to the market. It takes as little as 2 months to bring our books to the market. So once accepted, our authors, they work closely with us and weekly, and we create we complete all the steps to publishing your book, such as cover design, creative author platform design, formulating your powerful book description. And we do this all in 2 months, depending on the author's desired launch date. So it is so fun and it's fast to market. The other thing is our authors retain creativity and influence over their books. So they're a part of the process along the whole entire way. So Live Life Happy Hybrid published authors, they have creative control and more input in their book creation process, which is amazing. So with influence and inspiration towards the book cover design, the back cover design, the spine, as well as the interior file design, we do all the work, but we work closely with our authors and we make sure that they have huge amounts of creative input so that they finish with a product that they're proud to share with the world. So another thing is our authors receive undiluted royalties that rewards and supports their hard work. So Live Life Happy Hybrid published authors, they receive 100% of their royalties. So the author, they can also receive, we set up their whole author platform. And so once their book is published, they kind of kick us out of their platform and they look after all their royalties. They can see their book incomes coming in. They can see the royalties, where their books have been selling. And so it's undiluted, 100% royalties. And the authors also can get author order discounts, and they have that wonderful platform where they can watch their sales and gauge their reports, and they own the rights to their book at all times. So another great benefit is universal mass distribution. So Live Life Happy Hybrid Publishing has the same mass distribution as all traditional publishing houses. And our authors, their book goes into all distribution channels, all the funnels, and all the expanded distribution centers. So that way, our authors, their books are available everywhere in the world internationally. So we have the same access to digital, local bookstores, big box stores, online bookstores, libraries, and even subscription services, just to name a few. So all the access that traditional publishing houses have, Live Life Happy Hybrid model have the same. Another major benefit is access to discount author copies, access to your sales report, and your purchase accessibility. So Live Life Happy published authors have complete author platform control, and it's created for them so they can access discounted bulk orders, sales reports, and on-demand printing. And they can also drop ship or bulk order their books for speaking engagements or book signings or events, and they have full control over that. So another thing that our authors have is they enjoy on-demand printing and there's no surprise cost. So in other words, you don't have to bulk order a whole bunch of your books. So Live Life Happy Hybrid Publishing allows for no upfront or required bulk orders of your books and no future surprise expenses or royalties that have to be paid out for the author. So books are printed on demand and distributed directly to customers as the copies of their books are ordered. So royalties are basically the book's retail price less the cost of production and distribution. And as an example, Amazon usually gives 60% to the authors, and expanded distribution, such as bookstores, they typically will give 40% to the authors. So all the sales reports go to the author platform and are paid directly to the author. So this is wonderful because there's no upfront cost. It's on-demand printing. There's no surprise costs for the author, and they can also order bulk orders for themselves. So the other thing is a realistic upfront cost and profitability. So Live Life Happy Hybrid Publishing is a fraction of the cost of self-publishing. And it can be really a high price. It can add up all those services required to self-publish, not to mention the stress of figuring out all the steps and the blunders that could happen along the way. So traditional publishing, the profitability takes a lot of book sales, and much of the profit gets lost in the low royalty rates. So at Live Life Happy Publishing, we include a reasonable upfront cost that provides all the steps required to publish the book with no hidden surprise fees in the future. And then 100% royalties as soon as your book is published, the author will receive that. So the last main wonderful benefit is this idea of credibility and professionalism. They're associated with our authors' books. So Live Life Happy Hybrid Publishing is a registered publishing house that's in good standing with all the platforms and booksellers. And so our authors can proudly include the Live Life Happy imprint and publishing label inside their book. And our ISBN numbers are associated with our publishing house. And so you have the same, our authors have the same credibility and professionalism as traditional publishing. Booksellers, professionals, and the book industry really do value the association with a reputable publishing house. Well, there you have it, a whole new perspective on self-publishing, traditional publishing, and hybrid publishing. So there is no better time to write and publish your book. I invite you to write and publish your book because books change lives. They have the ability to have this a ripple effect on the world around us. You often hear people say that everyone has a book in them. I believe that. And many of us have a story, experience, and knowledge to share that can have a huge impact on the lives of others for the better. So according to Wall Street Journal survey as well, 80% of the population actually plans to write a book someday. So I'm curious, is this your someday? So if you've ever been interested in writing and publishing your book, you can look forward to many outcomes and amazing benefits to writing. So some of the things are increased credibility and positioning as a professional in your field, not to mention visibility, right? When you have a book published, you are associated with credibility and authority in your subject matter. And this is really important. So you have more visibility in media outlets as well. Not to mention, your book is like a business card. It's a lead generating tool that can help you with other products, maybe some services, maybe online courses or modules, whatever it is that you have, you can use it as a lead generation as well, a business card. Not to mention the passive income and the royalties that come from the book that you've created are fantastic. And writing a legacy. So, you know what? When we're not around anymore, I'm so excited because my kids are going to have exposure to so many of my written books, and I hope to really leave a legacy. And actually, I love the ripple effect on how books change lives and how you never know who you're going to touch with your book. That person that needs that knowledge, that experience you've been through, or just that nugget of gold that you can put and package into your book to make a difference, to leave a legacy, to enhance your life purpose and meaning here. So having said that, there is so much personal satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment that comes from writing a book. It feels good to squeeze out your brain and put it all into book form where you can share it with the world. It's like you're keeping that knowledge trapped inside of you otherwise. So books do have this wonderful ability to give you that sense of accomplishment and achievement and really satisfaction. It's also a springboard for so many other opportunities. I can't tell you how many speaking engagements I've gotten, opportunities on so many levels. I created a whole entire support group and podcast based around my book as well, which has really done super well, and it's helping so many people. And that's the bottom line, is that books change lives. So whose life will you touch with your book? So if you'd like, I would love to have you join me for any of the fun things we do over here at Live Life Happy Publishing. So I host weekend writing retreats. I also have author fertility clinics. I also have Write Your Book in 90 Days program. That's a one-on-one book doula service with myself. I also am super excited because we're doing summer book camps as well, where you can write your book in the summer. And there's so many other things that we offer here to help you take your knowledge, your expertise, and your learning and experience and package it in such a beautiful way that can then come out into the world and make a difference. So books change lives. I'm so excited to see the lives that your book is going to touch.